some of you may be old enough to remember the story about Susan Smith, whom children was found immersed in water in her car in 1994 in South Carolina. She told police officers that, and I can't remember if it was one or two black men, but she was hijacked by a black man who took her car with her two kids in the car, and they later found the car immersed underwater in a lake with the kids still strapped to the car seat. Come to find out that Susan Smith had lied. She went up for parole and was denied, which I think is good. But let me pull up the article so I can explain to you guys what I'm talking about. I'll be right back, okay? Okay.
BeeSparrow, 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 BeeSparrow. Yo, dog, it's BeeSparrow. Like, share, and subscribe. Best belief is gonna bring it live. Information, world news, current events, the source. Accurate as a fingerprint. A cool sister, a force for the people. Attacking real enemies, strategy that's lethal. There will be no sequels, so get your tickets. A cool place for you to sit back and kick it, or get evicted. Dialogue till we get to the bottom of it. We can agree to disagree, hate it or love it. Either way, she's sitting and talking like an arrow. Introducing ladies and gentlemen, BeeSparrow.
Yes, it's your girl BeeSparrow, BuzzzTweet Talk Radio. So according to this article on myfox8.com, a parole board decided unanimously that Susan Smith should remain in prison despite her plea that God has forgiven her for killing her two young sons 30 years ago by rolling her car into a South Carolina lake while they were strapped in their car seats. It was the first parole hearing for Susan Smith, 53, who is serving a life sentence after a jury convicted her of murder but decided to spare her of the death penalty. Under state law at the time, she is eligible for a parole hearing every 2 years now that she has spent 30 years behind bars. Smith made her case by video link from prison. When she began to speak, she started to say she was very sorry, then broke down in tears and bowed her head like, who you apologizing to? Those were your children that you killed. You killed your own children and now you apologizing. I mean, who you apologizing to? I'm curious. So this article goes on to say, after she broke down and bowed her head and apologized, I know what I did was horrible, she said, pausing and then continuing with a wavering voice, and I would give anything so I could change it. Wow. The parole board asked Smith about the law enforcement resources used to try to locate her children. In reply, she told the board she was just scared and didn't know how to tell them. That's them crocodile tears that didn't work in this case. You killed your sons. You killed your sons. These are the sons that would have allowed your lineage to go on and on and on. But you killed both of them because you were emotional and you was in some kind of heated argument with their dad. And now you're sorry. You should have been sorry then. But instead you try to cover it up and try to blame a black man. Let me see if this article going to mention anything about that. So the parole board asked Smith about, okay, I read that part. In her final statements, Smith appealed to her Christian faith, saying, God is a big part of my life. God has forgiven her. I ask that you show that kind of mercy as well, she said. I pray that God forgive me for what I did to my own children, because I had abortions. So I really can't judge, but I pray that he forgive me for what I did too. I don't know whether he did or not, but I hope he has. Prosecutors have long said that Smith killed 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex because a man she was having an affair with suggested the boys were the reason they didn't have a future together. See, I didn't even know that. and I was around when it happened. She was having an affair with another man, and because he didn't want the boys around, she killed him. Because she did not want her own boys around, she killed him over a man that wasn't even their father.
You're listening to B Sparrow on BuzzzTweet Talk Radio. What is up, y'all? You're listening to B Sparrow on BuzzzTweet Talk Radio.
A group of about 15 people urged against parole. They included her ex-husband and the father of the boys, David Smith, his family members, prosecutors, and law enforcement officials, along with a few others. David Smith had a photo of Micah and Alex pinned to his suit jacket. He struggled to get out words at first, pausing several times to compose himself. Susan Smith had free choice, he said, and his children's death weren't a tragic mistake. It wasn't. She drove that car into the lake, jumped out before it hit the water, and her kids drowned. Her kids were in the car. When they found the kids, they were still strapped to their car seats. He said he has never seen Susan Smith express remorse towards him. She changed my life for the rest of my life. That night, he said, wow, I'm asking that you please deny her parole today and hopefully in the future, but specifically today, he said, adding that he plans to attend each parole hearing to make sure Michael and Alex aren't forgotten. A decision to grant parole requires a 2/3 vote of board members present at the hearing, according to the State Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services. Parole in South Carolina is granted only by 8% of the time, and is less likely with an inmate's first appearance before the board, in notorious causes, or when prosecutors and the families of the victims are opposed. Before Smith testified, she stoically listened to a statement from her attorney, Tommy Thomas. He called her situation one about the dangers of untreated mental health. She had several mental health issues as a teenager that went unchecked to produce horrendous results, Thomas said. He also referenced that she had no criminal history before her conviction, making her low risk to the public. The board's decision was the one David Smith had hoped for, he said in a news conference following the hearing. In 2 more years, we'll go through this again, he said, but at least I know for now she'll still be behind bars. The family and prosecution has been cautiously optimistic, former prosecutor Tommy Pope said, but Susan Smith has continually demonstrated that it's always been about Susan. I believe Susan's the same woman she was 30 years ago when she laughed in the courtroom when the jury wasn't in and cried as soon as the jury comes in. Smith made intentional headlines in October of 1994 when she said she was carjacked late at night near the city of Union and that a black man drove away with her sons inside. The claims by Smith, who is white, played into a centuries-old racist trope of black men being a danger to white women, and stoked concerns about crime that were prevalent to 1990s America and remain so today. For 9 days, Smith made numerous and sometimes tearful pleas asking that Michael and Alex be returned safely. The whole time the boys were in Susan Smith's car at the bottom of nearby John D. Long Lake, authorities said. Investigators said that Smith's story didn't add up. Carjackers usually just want a vehicle, so investigators asked why would they let Susan out but not her kids. The traffic light where Smith said she had stopped when her car was taken would only be red if another car was waiting to cross, and Smith said no other cars were around. Other bits and pieces of the story did not make sense. Smith ultimately confessed to letting her car roll down a boat ramp and into the lake. A recreation by investigators showed it took 6 minutes for the Mazda to dip below the surface. while cameras inside the vehicle show water pouring in through the vents and steadily rising. The boys' bodies were found dangling upside down in their car seats, one tiny hand pressed against a window. Prosecutors said Smith was having an affair with the wealthy son of the owner of the business she worked at. He broke it off because she had two young sons. Smith lawyer says she was remorseful, was suffering a mental breakdown, and intended to die alongside her children, but left the car at the last moment. Smith's crime traumatized not only her family, prosecutor Kevin Brackett said, but also people in South Carolina and around the country who fixated on this global sensation. Her allegations that a black man kidnapped her children also led to other black men being wrongfully pulled over as police searched for a fictitious man. The 1995 trial of the young mother became a national sensation and a true crime touchstone. Her lawyers worked to save her life, noting that Smith's father had killed himself and that her stepfather, along with the owner of the business she worked, was having sex with her. From prison, Smith could make phone calls and answer text messages, many from journalists and interested men. Those messages and phone calls were released under South Carolina's Open Record Act, something Smith didn't initially realize could happen. She said the invasion of her privacy upset her, along with the public revelation that she was juggling conversations about the future with several men. Some men know why she was famous, others are more coy. One told her he was going to use the dates of her birthday and those of her dead sons when he played the Powerball lottery. Others chatted about their lives in sports. Many promised her a home on the outside and a happy life. Smith also had sex with guards, and she violated prison policies by giving out contact information for friends, family members, and her ex-husband to a documentary producer who discussed paying her for help, according to Pope and former prosecutors. So, it seems like she settled into her new home very well over the past 30 years. Whether she should get out or not, I'm conflicted on that. I don't know. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comment section. Like, subscribe. It's your girl B Sparrow. BuzzzTweet Talk Radio. Holla at y'all girl, okay? Well, okay.